In the USA alone, there are over 40 million PET and MRI scans performed every year. PET and MRI exams are used to detect various diseases in the body. These scans can take 20 minutes to 1 hour to complete, and patients have to hold still in a confined environment the entire time for the radiologist to get a clear image. This can cause the patient anxiety, discomfort, and even pain.
SubtleMedical is a healthcare technology company focused on building software solutions that make medical imaging better for patients and more efficient for hospitals and imaging centers. The technology is based on proprietary artificial intelligence algorithm using deep learning.
It's essentially a software upgrade to existing scanners that allows hospitals and imaging centers to get patients in and out faster, reducing patient discomfort. Centers can also scan more patients a day on the same equipment, which significantly increases their throughput and profitability.
The image simply gets pushed from the scanner to our platform, where we enhance the noisy image and then send the high-quality image back to the PACS for the radiologist to read.
Patients and doctors have enough on their minds. With our technology, centers can provide better patient experience and increase workflow efficiency.
We are SubtleMedical. We are making medical imaging faster, safer, and smarter.
SubtleMedical is a healthcare technology company focused on building software solutions powered by deep learning that make medical imaging more efficient and better for patients. Medical imaging is both costly and inefficient. Scan volumes are increasing while reimbursement is declining. Many centers have outdated technology and limited funds to purchase new million-dollar machines. Others have limited capacity on their current scanners, or now, with COVID-19, have to make even more time for additional cleaning protocols in between patients. Most importantly, imaging procedures are long and uncomfortable, which causes patients anxiety and discomfort. SubtleMedical provides intelligent solutions that tackle all of these concerns. Subtle's FDA-cleared software solutions, SubtlePET and SubtleMR, can be used to improve the quality of a center's accelerated imaging protocols. SubtlePET denoises images conducted in 1/4 the original scan time, while SubtleMR improves the image quality of a site's accelerated MR protocols using denoising and increased sharpness. The software works with any brand of scanner, PACS, or OEM. It's scalable across all scanner brands and is easy to deploy, requiring little to no change in the existing workflow. Accelerated protocols help centers to get patients in and out of the scanner faster, which reduces patient discomfort and results in a much better patient experience and increased patient satisfaction. With the ability to improve the quality of their accelerated imaging protocols, centers can accommodate more patients a day, increasing their throughput and profitability. Centers with outdated technology and limited funds don't have to go purchase new million-dollar machines anymore. Subtle's software is essentially a virtual upgrade that extends the life of the entire existing fleet of scanners. Subtle's software integrates seamlessly in the radiology workflow. In a typical workflow, the image is sent from the scanner to PACS via DICOM. When Subtle software is deployed, the image is sent from the scanner to the Subtle cloud, where the images are enhanced in a matter of seconds. The enhanced images are then sent to PACS the same as in the normal workflow. All of Subtle's products are HIPAA compliant and PHI safe. Let's take a look at SubtlePET. A normal PET exam might take around 18 minutes. If you acquire that image in 4.5 minutes, you'll get a noisy image nearly impossible to diagnose. SubtlePET software uses deep learning to enhance that noisy image within seconds, producing a diagnostically equivalent image to the 18-minute scan, but acquired in 1/4 of the time. This results in a significant improvement in patient experience, which patients are thrilled to share in their patient questionnaires. Here's our head of clinical, Dr. Praveen Gulaka, to show some examples of SubtlePET's image enhancement capabilities.
The following examples demonstrate how SubtlePET effectively denoises low-count PET acquisitions acquired either from low-dose or faster PET scans. On the screen, the right viewport is the standard scan acquired with 2.5 minutes per bed acquisition. The top row are PET images reconstructed at 2 times faster, 3 times faster, and 4 times faster acquisitions, and the bottom row shows the SubtlePET enhancement results for the same. If I go a little lower, This patient had a lung nodule that is very clearly visible in all the reconstructions. But the important point is, as you go faster in the PET acquisitions, the noise in the PET images increases dramatically, and SubtlePET effectively denoises these images, and you can see the image quality is almost identical to that of the standard scan. This is the lung nodule I was referring to, and if you look at the image quality, it's almost identical to that of the standard scan. And here I drew a small region of interest to demonstrate that the SUV max values that are critical for nuclear medicine physicians, the SUV max values are almost identical to that of standard of care scan. Here the value is 10. In the SubtlePET reconstruction, the values are 9.9. Again, as you can see, in the top row, when we go for faster PET acquisitions, the image quality deteriorates as you go faster due to lower counts available for reconstruction. But after SubtlePET enhancement, the image quality SNR is improved, and the image quality is almost identical to that of the standard scan. This second example is a PET scan from a GE digital PET CT scanner, the Discovery MI. The image on the left is the standard scan with a 2-minute per bed acquisition. The image in the middle was reconstructed with 25% of the counts, simulating a 30 seconds per bed acquisition. The image on the right is the SubtlePET enhanced result of the 30 seconds per bed acquisition. From this you can see the SubtlePET result is equivalent to that of the standard scan, and as I scroll through you can appreciate that the lesion conspicuity is almost similar, and the image after processing with SubtlePET has much less noise.
Let's take a look at SubtleMR. SubtleMR is an FDA-cleared image processing software that enhances MRI images. It can be used to reduce image noise for the entire body, including but not limited to head, spine, neck, abdomen, pelvis, prostate, breast, and musculoskeletal regions of the body, and is also used to increase image sharpness for head MRI. Centers use SubtleMR to improve the quality of their accelerated MRI protocols, which allows them to maximize their workflow without compromising image quality. It's field strength agnostic and works with all major contrasts. It's also compatible with downstream quantitative and diagnostic applications. Here's Dr. Gulaka again to show us what sites have been able to accomplish with SubtleMR.
This example is a brain MRI scan performed with different pulse sequences. The image on the left is the routine scan. The one in the middle is an accelerated scan with lower resolution. The image on the right is the SubtleMR enhancement result of the middle image. You can clearly see resolution enhancement in the SubtleMR images. As I scroll through these slices, you can clearly visualize the tumor boundaries. The SubtleMR image is diagnostically equivalent to the image on the left, which is the routine protocol. This is the resolution enhancement example on a 2D axial T2 flare sequence. SubtleMR clearly improves the resolution of the images while depicting the tumor and the extent of the edema very well, as you can see here. This is an example of denoising on a post-gadolinium 3D T1 weighted sequence. The middle image here is acquired with no averages and therefore has high image noise. SubtleMR effectively denoises these images while depicting the enhancing tumor very well. In spine MRI, the main mode of SubtleMR enhancement is by denoising. Here is an example of a lumbar spine MRI exam looking at degenerative disc disease using different pulse sequences. You can appreciate that the SubtleMR images on the right are clearly denoised while maintaining the sharpness. As I scroll through the slices, you can distinctly visualize the neural foramina, the facet joints, and the degenerated vertebral discs. The image quality is equal to or better than that of the routine protocol. This is an axial T2 weighted scan of the L spine. The SNR of the SubtleMR is greatly improved, and you don't see so much noise that is especially present in the vertebral bodies here. Also in the SubtleMR images, the nerve fibers are better visualized when compared to that of the routine scan, where they appear to be slightly blurred. And as I scroll through these images, you can appreciate the SNR enhancement as well as the sharpness and the crispness of the nerve fibers.
Subtle Medical's research has been presented at multiple conferences, including RSNA, ASNR, and ISMRM. Let's dive deeper into this research.
The first study is a blinded reader study to assess spine denoising and acceleration. The second study is a blinded reader study to assess brain denoising, acceleration, and resolution enhancement. And finally, the third study assesses brain denoising, acceleration, and resolution enhancement, plus matched quantitative volumetric analysis in standard of care in the DL enhanced images. So the question we ask in this first study is, can we establish non-inferiority of DL enhanced spine images at greatly reduced scan times? Our abstract was titled Deep Learning AI Technology Matches Lumbar Spine Imaging Quality at about 1/3 of the scan time. I'll show you some examples in our study where the standard of care image is always on the left, the accelerated image is in the middle, and the subtle enhanced accelerated image is on the right. The goal is for the subtle enhanced MR image to match the quality of the standard of care image despite significant acceleration. So we see the standard of care on the left, the fast image in the middle, and the subtle MR enhanced image on the right. In this example, you can see the conspicuity of the conus on the subtle enhanced image on the right side when compared to the standard of care. With IRB approval and patient consent, 27 patients underwent standard of care lumbar exams on one of 3 different clinical 1.5 Tesla scanners. All subjects underwent an additional accelerated 2D sagittal T2-weighted sequence processed by an FDA-cleared convolutional neural network-based DL AI application trained on multi-vendor MR platforms at SubtleMR. The scan time averaged was 2 minutes and 12 seconds for standard of care versus 49 seconds for the DL accelerated image. That's a 2.7 times acceleration factor. This is another example of a subtle enhanced fast scan. Our results show that there was no statistically significant difference between the DL accelerated scans and the standard scans for all criteria and both readers. So our conclusion was that deep learning AI technology can match routine imaging quality at up to 3 times scan time acceleration. So unlike the first trial where we looked at non-inferiority of the accelerated images, in this second trial, the question is, can we establish superiority of the DL enhanced brain images at reduced scan times? The title of our second trial is CNN-based DL enhances perceived quality, signal-to-noise ratio, and resolution at approximately 30% less scan time. This is an example of a brain MRI acquired 67% faster with SubtleMR, but with superior image quality. For this study, 11 patients undergoing clinical brain 1.5T MRI exams underwent an additional accelerated 3D sagittal flare with an average scan time reduction of 27%. These patients had IRB approval and consent. A third set of images was created by processing the faster series with an FDA-cleared CNN-based DL algorithm, SubtleMR. So you see here the significant improvement in image quality despite scan time reduction on the subtle enhanced images. You can see here the superior quality of the DL enhanced fast image on the right. The paired t-test results suggested that deep learning is significantly better than standard of care for 2 out of the 3 readers with a p-value of less than 0.05. On these images, I'd like you to focus on these 2 little white matter foci. So on the clinical image, you can see that they're barely visible. On the fast low res image, you can now appreciate them, but the image quality is poor. And then on the DL enhanced image, look how much more conspicuous both of these little white matter foci are. And look at this improved gray-white differentiation on this much higher quality image. When presented side by side, DL is superior, significantly superior for reader 1 and 2, and mildly superior for reader 3 for image sharpness, perceived signal-to-noise ratio, and lesion/pathology conspicuity when compared to the standard series or the accelerated series. So in conclusion, CNN-based DL image processing of 3D FLAIR brain MRI produces a boost in perceived image quality, signal-to-noise ratio, and resolution while providing approximate 30% reduction in scan time. In our last clinical use case study, we applied 2 different AI tools. Our question was, can we maintain accurate matched quantitative volumetric analysis in DL-enhanced brain images at 2 times the speed? The title of this abstract was Deep Learning Enables Accurate Quantitative Volumetric Brain MRI with 2 times faster scan times. 2 T unweighted volumetric scans were acquired for each patient, one from routine clinical protocol and the other with half the phasing codes and scan times. The faster scans were then enhanced post-acquisition by an FDA-cleared DL software product, SubtleMR. Our results showed excellent image quality was obtained by DL with higher perceived signal-to-noise ratio and perceived image resolution at 2 times faster speed. Segmentation matched between both datasets in all 3 planes despite significantly shortened scan time. The mean and standard deviation of hippocampal occupancy score, hippocampi, superior lateral ventricular volume, and inferior lateral ventricular volume was negligible. Scatter plots demonstrated strong correlation and linearity between the 2 measurements, the standard of care plus NeuroQuant versus deep learning plus NeuroQuant. Bland-Altman plots further demonstrate strong agreement between the 2 measures. In conclusion, this study validates the high quantification accuracy of DL accelerated scans with 2 times faster scan times when compared with standard. Strong agreement between the standard scan and DL process scan across each quantitative measure demonstrates the acceleration capability of DL in various neurodegenerative disease conditions. Consistent results from scans on diverse scanner types demonstrated a good generalizability of the DL software. The inherent higher signal-to-noise ratio from the DL processing could potentially improve the robustness of brain segmentation and will be the subject of further investigation.
So let's look at some of the pilots that we've done at our institutions across our network, which is, across from the West Coast to the East Coast. We look to assess the feasibility of DL-based recon tools under a radiologist's guidance. Again, it's really important to understand here that these aren't science experiments. These are images that are vetted as acceptable to go forward by a radiologist. So it's key that the radiologist is the driver here. And it's the individual radiologist in the region that are doing the driving, which I think is really important. And you'll hear from some of them before we're done. The typical target sites, by the way, are vendor agnostic, being image space based. So any vendor, are typically older units that are either close to capacity or are limited in some way, like a SAR limited 3T, where patient comfort is falling into play and scanning delays are really limiting workflow. They may be a site that needs improved IQ for either clinical needs, maybe we need thinner slices, to do a midfoot, to assess the plantar plate, or for market purposes, to avoid being outperformed by competitive practices. And our intent was to indicate deep learning recon for routine use and monitor it over time to make sure that our expectations are being met. These are the sites that we did. We have them in New York City, New Jersey, and California. If you're familiar with these equipment names, you see these are older units, except for this one newer unit. We're actually looking at pushing the envelope in quantitative imaging research in MS. And you can see more capacity, more capacity, more capacity. But this one is an old 3T with delays between scans. And we're going to try and use this tool. We are using this tool actually, engaged in getting shorter scans so we don't have as much SAR deposition and SAR delay. As an example, here's what we did with our accelerated protocols. And you can see that this is a lot faster than we did beforehand. So how did we accomplish the image quality that we had before? Well, we can use these tools to take this type of quality. You can see it's got a little low SNR, a little noise in the, it's just not an ideal image. Even though we've achieved our clinical goal of a 20-minute exam slot, we can actually use these tools to bring the quality back. Again, still maintaining that exam slot, but maintaining the quality we're expecting. You can see here a routine 5.5-minute thoracic spine, again, where the acceleration has been balanced by a tool that corrects the image quality. Again, here about a 5.5-minute cervical spine. Again, we couldn't do this. We didn't do this as well without the deep learning tool that helped restore our quality. Here you can see, a complex with and without brain. If you can see this magnification, this developmental venous anomaly, nicely demonstrated. We do our flares post-contrast, so you can see it here as well. But again, all of these sequences, 3 post-contrast sequences, all the usual suspects, in about 14 minutes of scan time, something that would work in a 20-minute slot. And here is sort of the granddaddy of the brain exams that can go on forever. with coronal imaging, with 2 contrast, as well as all the routine sequences. Yet with these tools, we're able to accelerate our images and get this type of quality by restoring the quality with deep learning. So here's one of our West Coast sites. I have it as West Coast site, not to delineate which particular site. You can see our case mix between spine, brain, and knee, versus where the Subtle software was approved to operate. We had roughly 70% of our exams. And you can see this particular West Coast site was using 20-minute, 30, 35, and 45-minute slots. When we went to the time reduction, because of operational needs, you can see the kind of reduction we accomplished, somewhere between 30, cervical spine with only about 17, but 30 to 40% in terms of our reduction. When you look at the exam slots, to get these exam slots down, you notice we're able to pull a significant amount of time out of these exams that were kind of lengthy beforehand. We're able to make a significant dent in the operational impact. Now, here's one of our East Coast pilots. And this particular pilot was a bit affected by COVID during this trial. You're not seeing quite as much of our imaging falling into the typical, outpatient imaging realm. But even in this trial, we're still 60% applicable to what we can cover with the deep learning software from Subtle. You notice in the East Coast, we were already at 20 and 30-minute slots, and we use these tools to try to go faster. Here you can see what the knees look like at 8 minutes and 40 seconds, with all the usual suspects. And you can see that, even though we've achieved quite a bit of acceleration with our protocols, we're still able to maintain the image quality. And here again is another statement from one of our neuroradiologists. The emergence of artificial intelligence using deep learning and MR image reconstruction has allowed us to achieve outcomes that weren't possible before. By applying SubtleMR to our RadNet optimized imaging protocols, we can achieve an even higher level of efficiency and patient comfort, as well as optimized image quality. That theme keeps coming up over and over again.
Let's hear what customers have to say about Subtle Medical's technology.
What was appealing to us about Subtle Medical, and specifically SubtlePET, was the value proposition, in that it offered us the ability to improve the efficiency of our scan such that the patients experienced a shorter transaction. The scan itself took less time, which always improves patient comfort, while preserving the image quality, the diagnostic image quality that we need to make the most accurate diagnoses.
The most appealing value proposition that we've seen in SubtleMR and SubtlePET is the ability to increase image quality. We know from MR basically that we have this trade-off where we are never able to get both faster, higher quality scans. And what happens using SubtleMR is that we are able to make our own protocols faster, and then Subtle helps us to get our image quality back to the original protocol.
By the partnership with Subtle Medical and introducing the SubtlePET in our Affidea IRMED Center in Torino, we provided the same high-quality images with 33% reduction of FDG dose. This had a positive impact on patient safety and operational workflow too. Following this successful pilot in Italy, we decided to deploy the innovative solution across Affidea network, where we have the other centers with PET-CT units.
So what's appealing for us about SubtlePET is that in Paris, there are at the present time something like 45 PET-CT systems in Paris and area, and that explains that PET-CT practice in Paris is very, very competitive. And then it's very important for us to provide very short delay between the requests from the patients or the clinicians and the date of the PET-CT appointment. At the second time, it's very important for us to provide and continue to provide very high quality image in PET-CT, and to think about the patient experience during the time spent into the department, and to continue to provide also very high quality diagnosis medical reports.
So our initial validation of the fact that the image quality was diagnostically equivalent was to offer blinded readers, two of our radiologists, images, one that was the full data set, and the second was the processed data set utilizing the SubtlePET technology, and asked them a series of questions in regards to equal number of lesions, overall image quality, etc. And once we were satisfied that there really was no practical difference, we validated the fact that we could then deploy SubtlePET in routine clinical use.
Implementation of Subtle software into RadNet was basically effortless. The IP address that was attached to our system was effortless. It did not alter any patient care or our schedule. They've been supportive 24/7 with any possible problems and solutions. The scalability of SubtleMR into RadNet system is actually tremendous. It is we have multiple vendors, multiple technologies levels as far as competency, and it's integrated in between our oldest system to our newest system without any effort at all.
We were one of the early adopters of the SubtlePET technology. The entire process of incorporating SubtlePET into the workflow was relatively seamless. Again, as an early adopter, the very initial stages of incorporation increased our bureaucracy because, as you can imagine, in the early stages of technology, the bureaucracy of allowing us to do this had to be overcome. That said, once that happened, the actual technical interface was seamless and very efficient.
We were really very satisfied with the technical and clinical implementation, and we received a great support from Subtle. The solution was easily integrated and didn't affect our workflow.
So the way SubtlePET technology impacted our imaging centers was the fact that, first of all, our patient satisfaction increased, and we documented that with actual questionnaires, asking patients to relate to their experience, repeat patients, before Subtle was implemented versus after, and we clearly demonstrated improved satisfaction. The other way was simply the efficiency of having the ability to increase capacity. That was exemplified early on in our experience when one of our PET scanners went down, and we could actually shift patient load to the one scanner that had the SubtlePET technology and accommodate those patients without increasing wait times.
At DASA, we have what we call the golden hours, which are specific time slots that the patients prefer to book their studies. And what we've seen is that SubtleMR makes us capable of optimizing our own protocols in a way that we are able to open more slots in those specific times. And this is great for the patients who can book their studies at the time they want.
SubtlePET bring us flexibility concerning the throughput and the workflow. Indeed, sometimes with children or patients who are very painful or patients who suffer from claustrophobia, we really had to scan faster. And thanks to SubtlePET, we are able to perform this faster scan without lack of image quality. And it was very important for us.